I'm Marvi Guru.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And this is Rude Eats, a delicious podcast where we sink our teeth into every episode of the show Hannibal.
My friends call me a killer if you're still hanging around. You spread all of these rumors that I am the guy who did all of these crimes. I thought you wanted me better, someone you wouldn't use. You said he must be a killer, so now when we talk I have anger issues. You said there's no encephalitis. Now we're knee deep in my broken psyche, and you're eating my friend. You're a cannibal now. What me when you fit into me at your dinner party? I'm a cannibal now. All I needed was a friend. Hannibal, you're a cannibal. How? Don't even try to pretend. Hey Hannibal, where's Abigail now? I know it's really Hannibal, and you frame me for murder and feed me in the air. I know it's really Hannibal, and you smell my name right next to that ear. You could have been a real friend that taught me all about who I am. I thought you were a real friend, but honestly you're not. Knee deep in my broken psyche, and you're eating my friend. Hug me when you're fitting to me at our dinner parties. All I needed was a friend. Don't even try to pretend. You fuck with my head and blame it on the fever. You suspect really help. You wonder why I'm better. Bragging to our friends, you got me and I did it. I had to tell the truth and I both know you did it. I hate how that you changed me so much. I question myself. I hate how that you changed me so much. You can go to hell.
And welcome back. I am so excited to talk about this episode with you, Mary. It's a lot. There's a lot going on in this episode. It's very heavy. And I could tell from your reactions in the Discord as you were live watching it immediately after we recorded the previous episode that you were freaking out basically the entire time.
I mean, there's no moment where something happens that I was expecting to happen, truly. And I feel like I've been pretty good so far at kind of like knowing where the story was headed. But I feel like this episode really surprised me.
I think it is very surprising. I think actually we don't really rate episodes anymore, but I might take a star from this episode only because we talk a lot about Hannibal as a supervillain, right?
Yeah.
The idea of what Hannibal does in this episode and how long he would have had to plan it and like keep the ruse up, I guess, is a little bit too much for me to suspend disbelief sometimes. I love it. I want to be clear. I think it's absolutely great. I think it's fantastic. It's from a story perspective, I'm like all in. But if I like pull back just a little bit, I'm like, so he spent 2 years manipulating this guy just to get Chilton as like a plan B Chesapeake Ripper? Like, when did he meet Chilton? Like, when did this start happening? Like that kind of thing. So that's probably my only complaint about this kind of stuff. Like, but otherwise, like throughout the entire episode, it's so fucking good. And like, if you can manage to suspend your disbelief on all the FBI bullshit, like why can't I do it here? So I should probably just shut up about it.
I actually completely agree with you. And it's kind of like at the beginning of season 1, I was like, oh, Hannibal is like, he clearly felt like he had a meticulously laid out plan, and then you find out that maybe that's not the case. Maybe he's just curious to see what happens, and it sort of feels like this is a little bit of both, where he knew that he wanted to do something, like he bought all the crafting stuff on a day where he felt particularly motivated, and then he just kind of like left it there for a bit, and then he was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do with that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Why don't you, I guess, for admin, we should probably mention, because this is coming out in March, that we're going to be at the Boston Supernatural Convention if people want to come and say hi to us. We're not going to have a booth or anything. We'll just be hanging out, just watch social media for stuff. But yeah, I want to be there, and I want to give people high fives that are wearing Hannibal gear at the Supernatural Convention. So come in your best Hannibal gear, everybody. Why don't you tell everybody what episode we're talking about this week?
All right, so today we are talking about Hannibal, Season 2, Episode 7, Yakimono. The episode summary is that Will is released from Chilton's asylum, while the discovery of William lasts. Oh my gosh, that is an interesting thing that I just said. That is a thing that I said. While the discovery of Miriam lasts gives Jack new hope in finding the Chesapeake Ripper. This episode was directed by Michael Reimer, written by Steve Lightfoot and Brian Fuller, and the original air date was April 11th, 2014.
Yes. And as we normally do, we like to delve a little bit into the name of the episode and pull out something of a theme that relates to the episode itself. And so Yakimono basically just means like fried thing, which is very funny to me. Basically like cooked thing is what it breaks down to. And obviously we're being very simplistic because we're Westerners and we're not raised in any culture that, you know, experience this like as from a child or anything like that. So we're looking at this from the outside. And so we went back and forth. My original idea was to have a theme of metamorphosis in this episode. And then for reasons that people who have seen Hannibal will probably recognize, I kind of want to pull that one back and put it in my back pocket for later. And then you came out with a great theme for this. So
you were like, but that's cheating. And I'm like, no. We did that all the time on Carrying Wayward, where I was like, not that one, not that theme. That's for later.
That makes me feel better. It does.
Yeah. So I thought about reaction, right? Because in the notes about Yakimono, you put something about the Maillard reaction, which is something that occurs between sugars and amino acids when temperatures rise above roughly 284 Fahrenheit. So basically, like when you sear something on a pan, that's what happens. Like think about that steak that has like that coloring on it. Like that's the Maillard reaction. And it's interesting because it happens when you put heat on it, right? And it's not exclusive to meats. That happens also with roasted vegetables and toasted bread.
I think we could call Chilton a roasted vegetable in this episode. That's probably how he's feeling. Very much like a roasted vegetable.
A roasted potato.
Poor Chilton.
I love him so much. I don't want him to die. Okay. So basically, I thought about the word reaction because that's what it feels like. A lot of people are reacting to heat, to Hannibal. And I think that it would be a really interesting one to dive into. Now, to go into the etymology a little bit, it's basically like it comes from Latin of re, which is again or back, and agere, which is to do, to perform, so to perform again. And in the 1640s, it was basically like this idea of like an action in resistance or response to another action or power. And I just like this fits perfectly with this episode, I think.
Yeah, and then there's a funny little language thing here that I like, because we're talking about putting the heat on something to cause a reaction, which is literally what Hannibal is doing to Chilton, right? Like he's putting the literal heat, quote unquote, cops, which is what they're called, onto Chilton to create this reaction. So, like always, when we come up with these things, we pat ourselves on the back because we think we're very, very clever and smart about it because it fits in a lot of different ways. So, we're patting each other on the back this week because this is a really good one.
There's patting is happening right now.
Patting is happening. Why does that sound so sinister?
I know. I don't like it. Undo it.
Do you want to hit our Beat by Eat section?
I really do.
start pretty much where we left off with Jack at the abandoned building that he found Miriam last in. He is obviously has just loaded her up into an ambulance and sending her away. And we go over to headquarters of the FBI, where she is being swabbed and combed for potential evidence. It's unclear whether she's hearing the music that is playing. In my opinion, as we see, as the camera always focuses on Miriam, we always hear this kind of discordant chamber music thing happening. In my mind, it's definitely something that she's hearing. I don't think this is just a soundtrack. Like her brain is like playing this discordant chamber music because she's so out of it. Like she's struggling to even figure out where she is. And she just stares like straight unblinkingly ahead as all of this is happening. Like they're scraping dirt under her fingernails, combing her hair, like trying to find any trace evidence whatsoever. And while this is happening, Jack is in his office, like listening to the voicemail that he received in season 1 over and over again on his phone, which isn't healthy. I don't think that's a good thing to. That's not a good thing to do.
No.
And then Miriam she takes a shower, she gets some fresh FBI clothes, and she's able to talk to Jack. And one of the first things she says is, "I knew you'd never stop looking. Thank you."
Which is so awkward because he did stop looking.
Absolutely.
Right? Or at least he stopped looking for her alive. And I mean, like, that's also one of the big surprises of the last episode is that, like, she is alive. I thought she was dead.
Of course.
So I would have also stopped looking for her alive. So, it's not so much that you feel angry at Jack for stopping to look. It's that you feel so guilty about not believing that she could have been alive.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing that she's kind of surprised to learn, she asks if she can see him, and Jack has to tell her like they haven't even caught the Ripper yet. And she talks about not remembering really anything about him. Like she doesn't remember finding him. She just remembers like him getting inside her head. And this is like just another example of what we've seen Chilton do kind of amateurishly, and we've seen Hannibal do to some degree of success, which is being psychically driven to bury memories. This is pretty much exactly what Hannibal did to Will. So obviously like him doing this to Miriam makes a lot of sense. So she says, fear and pain were so far away, which is kind of heartbreaking. Like she wasn't even able to like have those feelings to herself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like trauma, but like to the nth degree, right? Like it's because not only did he keep her like in a hole in the ground, but he also like you said, drove her psychically to basically have the reactions that he needed, which was like her not freaking out every 2 seconds, and so like needing her to be docile.
So so I want to do a brief correction because I think this is like a blink and you miss it thing, a lot like Abigail being the one that dug up Nick to give to the FBI. He didn't keep her in this hole for the 2 years. Like,
right, that's true.
She mentions that like this was where he took her at the last. She even says like he treated me so well, like even when he took my arm. Like she's going to say that here in a bit. And I just like the idea of kidnapping somebody for 2 years. Like it's so just unimaginable to me. Like just the logistics involved, and then also like doing it kindly, which you could imagine like Hannibal probably did do it kindly. Like he's all in all, he's a very nice guy. He's a very sweet dude. He just don't want to get on his wrong side, right?
Well, it's kind of like that idea of what he was saying, I think it was in season 1 about cruelty. And he's like, because I mean, he has no reason to be cruel to Miriam, right? Like she was never rude to him. She just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And now she has become a pawn in his twisted sexual games with Will Graham.
Twisted hot sexual games.
I love that you added hot.
Of course. Jack tries to apologize, and he says that he was reckless with her life and that he hid behind her rules. All of the stuff that we have criticized Jack for in this podcast. Yes. And she kind of puts that back on him and refuses his apology, saying she was reckless with her life. And then again talks about how nice he was to her. Even when he took my arm, he said he wanted to give it to you, which is just such a fucked up thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that she was fine with it, right? She's like, yeah, okay, cool.
She seems pretty chill about everything, I gotta say. But like also like the amount of stress and like I can't imagine, like I would probably also like pull away and like do this, right?
Yes.
I don't think I would be like exuberant to talk to Jack Crawford of this.
Yeah. This feels like to me like dissociation, right? Like it's just, again, like what I was talking about with Abigail in season 1, like being able to say like really, really messed up things without really feeling that those things actually happen to you.
Yes.
And it's a survival mechanism. It's totally normal. And so but it's horrifying, right? When you look at it from the outside, because you're like, you feel like that's not a normal reaction to have. It is, but it's also like, you are so far gone at that point that like, how do you even start getting back in touch with your emotions, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we saw what Abigail went through, and and that was one day. Like, that was one afternoon, yes. Right? And having to go through this for 2 years would be absolutely insane. She also says that she wasn't spared, that he was saving her for last, which has a lot of implications, I think, of like, why would he be saving her for last? Did he tell her that? Like, why does she think that?
Well, yes, I absolutely agree. Like, this is super alarming, really. And when I first watched the episode, when I saw that she was still alive, like if you remember, like my first reaction was like, what did he do to her to make sure that like she wouldn't say anything, or that like, or to basically have her point at somebody else, like, or to confuse the investigation. And like, I think I was right to be worried.
Yes, 100%.
In hindsight, I was right to be worried, because I was pretty much right on the money.
You should worry about everything in Hannibal, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also, I think, like, saving me for last. I think maybe like Hannibal had an escape plan, right? Because I don't think you can plan something like this, do something like this, and then expect to stay in Baltimore. You know what I mean?
I didn't really consider that, but like having, dropping Miriam into Jack's lap and then being able to like would provide the distraction that he needs to get the FBI off of him in order for him to escape somehow. And we talked about last episode where he was kind of cleaning house, right? Like he was claiming all of his victims. He was getting Will out of jail. He was letting Miriam last go. Like this plays to that as well, of like all of these plans, all of these intentions I've had over these years. Like I'm starting over again. So maybe that's kind of fits into our theme as well, of like he's feeling a little bit more heat from his relationship with Will, and like he's having a reaction to that.
I fully agree with that, and I think that like the whole like I forgot where I was going with that. Okay, that's gonna make for a fun podcast.
That's the worst feeling in the world. I hate that so much.
I'm like, wait a second.
We go.
Okay, we can move on.
Speaking of Hannibal, we're going to an interrogation room where he's sitting down with Alana, of all people, and she tells him that they found. I know. Does anybody know how to FBI? Like just
nobody. No. The answer to that question is nobody knows how to FBI.
It's so weird that it's Alana, and I get it actually. Like from a plot standpoint, it makes a lot of sense.
Of
like
course.
It's just one of those things you just have to kind of turn your brain off. Like there's no way in a million years that Jack would put Alana in this room. But. Hannibal quickly realizes what's happening after Alana tells him that they found a witness, that he's being treated as a suspect. It seems that I am the usual suspect. And he realizes that, this witness, can identify him by sight, so he can only be identified by his voice, which is why Alana's in the room. And he says, hey, still, thank you for your company. I appreciate your company. And then he goes to the one-way glass, and on the other side, we see Miriam with a very distressed face, and she begins to kind of have these visions of a silhouette standing in front of a blinking light, very similar to what we saw with Will. And she hears this discordant chamber music, and but she looks like, as she looks at him and as she hears him talk, she looks over at Jack and says, that's not him.
I wonder if he didn't learn from Abigail that she recognized his voice, right, on the phone. And he was like, oh, I need to tweak that.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that scene where she's like, and you be the man on the phone. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, we're going to learn that he somehow manipulated Miriam into thinking that it was Chilton's voice. And Autumn came up with a theory, and I don't remember if any of this is confirmed or not. But I really like the idea that like he learned from the Abigail thing, right? Like then changed his theory. But I also, like, Autumn brought up, like, what about all those tapes that Chilton has that has Chilton's voice on it, where he's psychically driving Gideon as well as Will? Like he probably is there an idea that he like stole those and used those against Miriam?
I think that makes a lot of sense, actually, because I was wondering about the how, and I think that and I was like, well, he must have found recordings of Chilton somehow, and I think that That makes a lot of sense.
Because, I mean, he can just break into anywhere. Like, it seems
Right.
like he doesn't. Locks do not stop Hannibal there, so.
No. Locks do not stop Hannibal. Right.
We get our intro. And then we go to the hospital where Chilton is talking to Will as Will is being freed. All the charges have been dropped. He has not been, they've figured out there was another killer, so he's free to go. The Ripper has set you free, is what he tells him. He signals for the door to be unlocked, and there's a real, interesting moment where Will, very carefully pushes it open, almost like he's, is this his memory palace that he keeps going to, or is this real life? I wonder if he's having that question in his head. And then he tells Chilton, hey, if you don't want to be on Hannibal's dinner table, you need to start confessing. You need to tell Jack about the things that you did to Gideon and wanted to do with me, your unusual practices. And Will says there's no bargaining with smoke. Gideon is dead and you're next, which has got to be pretty terrifying for
Chilton's face when he says that is
And then I love this line. Chilton says, "Why didn't Hannibal kill you?" And Will just looks, and with a rueful smile, almost as if it's like a toxic friend that you can't help but hang out with. He just says, because he wants to be my friend, and it's so sweet. It's so adorable.
I love that you're so taken in by this very, very toxic relationship. It makes, I don't know why, but it makes me so happy. I'm so sorry to be happy about that, but that's just how I feel. I also find that it's really interesting that Will says that in this moment, because Hannibal has been all my heart is skewered and I was wrong about you, and saying all of these really seemingly very definitive things about them not being friends anymore. But we've seen through his actions that that's not true, right? He's still very fascinated with Will, and Will also knows that. Despite all of the things that Hannibal says, Will still knows that he fascinates Hannibal.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Will just isn't quite ready to admit his own fascination back. I think in his head he's thinking I'm going to go out and catch this killer, right? I'm going to give justice to all the people that he's murdered and presumably eaten, and also the things that he has done to me. But in his heart, I think his heart is telling him something different that he's not ready to hear yet. So we'll see if that happens in the next couple of seasons.
You need to start reading Enemy to Lovers, Jeremy.
Right? I should just subscribe to the tag.
Saying.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
He walks out to meet Jack, who tells him about Miriam. I like the blocking in this, where you see this kind of side-by-side conversation, and for whatever reason Will is bathed in the light in the window and Jack is not. I don't know that that's specifically a metaphor for anything, but just looks really nice. So,
well, I mean, I think so, because Will knows a lot more than Jack, and Jack also doesn't really want to walk out of the shadows and then the not knowing and the whatever, right? He's still very reluctant, and we're going to see that by the end of the episode, that he doesn't want to believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unlike Mulder, who wants to believe.
Who very much wants to believe. And we just go from here to the FBI. Will is hey, let's go look at the scene, basically, and Jack just takes him there, and I'm just he's out of a mental hospital for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because first, I don't think Will wants to go at the beginning, right? But Jack is telling him that Miriam says that Hannibal's not the Ripper. And then there's this really interesting conversation about is this definitive enough for you? No, it wasn't. And we also get an apology from Jack, right? He gave up on Miriam, he gave up on Will, and he stopped trying to find both of them. And I'm Jack is saying all of the right things right now, and that's really great. But is he actually going to change the way that he operates in order to match what he's saying? He's talking the talk right now, but is he going to be able to walk the walk, or is he just going to not believe Will later in this episode? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It would be so fascinating to see how he would treat, or how this version of Jack Crawford would treat the TV show version of Clarice Starling, and if they ever got the chance to adapt that. I would be, just because here, he's had now 2 experiences of kind of pushing people beyond their limits. And obviously in the movie Silence of the Lambs, like he did almost that exact same thing with a trainee with Clarice Starling. It'd be fascinating to see how that would work here, if he would have any kind of hesitation about doing that.
I would say no. Look at the way look at it.
Yeah, it's
Look
true.
at it. I mean, I don't know.
It.
I don't know what happens at the end of the season. Although I don't think, you're saying this as if he survives the end of season 2, which is, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I treat every character as alive forever if they're alive in the episode that we're covering. So nobody's
Fair
ever
enough.
going to die in my mind.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. But yeah, to answer what you're saying about like Will being back at a crime scene, I find that the FBI HR works real fast for that to happen.
Right? Like this dude was just accused of fucking like serial killer, murder, suicide, like all kinds of bullshit. Like this dude was like, where is the Sex and the City chick in all of this? Like, what is her opinion about putting Will back in the field the day that he gets out from the mental hospital? Like, have a rest.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
I love this experience though. So Will comes in and he looks into the chambers. He's very clinical and calm. He's so much more like the episode 1 Will than we've ever seen him. In fact, I think he's even more episode 1 Will, if that makes sense. In other words, he's kind of tightened up. He's on edge, but he's not like freaking out about stuff. So he has this like clinical interest as we see him move into a room that we didn't see in the last episode, which is like Hannibal's surgical studio, basically. There's the stainless steel surgery table, instruments. There's canisters of Beverly Cass's blood because he drained her before he chopped her up, which is horrifying. Like, why are you holding on to that blood, my dude? That seems weird. And then Jack shows Will pictures of the tree man, the tree victim from the last episode. And it kind of walks them through how the FBI found this place. And Jack even says, like, he knows we're close to catching him. And when Will repeats the line that he gave to Abigail in his dream, which is, you can catch a fish once and it's a lot harder to catch a second time. And then for the first time in a while, we get a pendulum, which is very exciting.
I was so happy to see the pendulum was back. It felt like, the good old days when Will was just sick with the deadly disease.
It's interesting here because we see the pendulum, and what the pendulum usually does is kind of wipe out things that weren't there at the time of the crime scene. But what it does for Will in this case is a little different, that we see him just kind of wipe out items from this room. And he starts seeing flowers blooming, and then which is going forward in time, which is interesting to me. And then he kind of switches from this room to Hannibal's office and sees this tree man, this victim, which has been carefully intertwined with this tree, in Hannibal's office, and it says, and places like this heart flower, again, this imagery of the heart, I think we probably need to delve into, and says, like, I sowed the seeds and watched them grow. I cultivated them, a long chain of events leading to this. All of this has been my design. Yeah, absolutely. And then finally he sees Miriam in the bottom of the little chamber as he closes the lid on her, and then he's back in the real world. We should talk a lot about this imagery of him seeing, because the pendulum didn't put him in the past where this happened. It took him to Hannibal's office, which is meaningful in my mind. It's very meaningful in my mind.
His heart blooms.
And literally puts a heart in a chest where it starts beating. Hard to ignore everything that means.
Listen, I always say that on Supernatural, like, hearts mean stuff on Supernatural. It's kind of like a thing that I say often on my Carrying Wayward podcast. And like, I feel like here, like you said, you can't ignore the fact that like the heart starts beating only when it's like put back in the chest in Hannibal's office, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, there's it's alarming again. It's alarming.
It's not good, but also it's kind of hot. I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my heart can only beat when it's like with you, kind of thing, and it's like, but must it, Will? Like,
well, when
can't you find yourself like a healthier relationship?
He tried to date Alana, and that didn't go very well for him.
That wouldn't have been healthy. She's a lesbian.
Would not have been healthy at all. the idea that he sees this in Hannibal's office too, I think, kind of represents like his growing obsession and fascination with Hannibal, right? Like I think that's, and I just love the idea that, again, going back to a reaction, that Will's like basic capability, his empathic ability, has fundamentally changed from what we're seeing here, because of the quote unquote heat that Will has placed on him, and I just love that. I think that's super healthy and great for everybody involved. He jumps back into the real world, and he tells Jack that he brought Miriam here to be found. Like this wasn't them. He planted all of this as evidence for the FBI to find her, and says like he wants you to catch someone just like he wanted you to find me. And he says that somewhere in all of this evidence, you'll find some evidence that leads away from Hannibal Lecter. And this last line he tells Jack, which is, "You can't trust her, Jack. You can't trust any of what this is." And it's like he's almost sad when he's talking to Jack about this. Like that you can't trust her, Jack. It's very... Will spends a lot of time being rueful, I think, in this episode, of just like wanting someone to believe him, but like also trying to get people to put it together themselves so that he doesn't have to convince them.
Yes, I think that this is such an interesting thing that's happening because, like, Will knows what happened, right? He knows that. And he also knows that when he openly points the finger at Hannibal, people don't believe him. And clearly that has harmed him, like literally, physically, mentally, psychically, spiritually harmed him in the beginning of this season. And so he feels a lot more guarded with Jack. Which is like a normal, again, reaction to someone actively not believing you. And also considering that Jack played a part in why Will's sickness went on so long undiagnosed, right? Like he just kind of like buried it under the carpet or whatever, like under the bed. So I think that it's actually quite smart for Will to be putting up a boundary between him and Jack. Like there's this thing between them. There's like... I'm so sorry to use that word, but there seems to be a veil between them, right? And we've seen also that in previous episodes, Will doesn't name Hannibal anymore because he knows that it doesn't take him anywhere. And I feel like that has stayed, right? He's carried that from prison into his freedom, right? And I think it's also interesting that he wants to stay in control of the information that he's gaining through his like empathetic superpower or whatever, right? Like he no longer just like wants to give all of that to Jack. He's like, no, I need to be more careful with what I let people know about myself.
It's, and we're, again, going back to reaction, right? Like all of this is a reaction to the things that have been done to Will. And I absolutely agree with everything that you said, like him pulling that information back, managing that control, him putting up that veil between him and Jack. All of that is him reacting to the things that have happened to him and him trying to control himself a little bit better, or control his life a little bit more. Yeah. Also, it's interesting to me that he's having to do all of this, and in doing so, he's becoming more like Hannibal. Where he has that buffer between quote unquote friends or colleagues of not telling them things, of hiding his true self from them. And it's interesting because that seems to be Hannibal's goal, right? Is to change Will in some fundamental way. And I think I said this in the last episode too, like it seems to be working. Maybe not the last episode, but the episode before last where he, ordered the orderly to kill Hannibal. Like, super, super fascinating, the way that Will is actually going through a change in this.
A becoming,
if you will. I said in an episode that there's no good becomings, and that's a joke that Autumn and I talk about a lot, about like supervillains and things like that. And just shout outs to my girl Roxy for saying like, Jeremy, trans people, there's plenty of good becomings. And I was like, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I was not thinking of you guys as supervillains when I made that joke.
I know, right? How dare you, Jeremy, not think of trans people as supervillains, as cartoonishly evil supervillains.
So there are good becomings. I need to fix my joke, I guess. Also, and other good news, Will arrives home. I love this scene of Will's dogs just running up to him. There's nothing better than a dog just running up to you and being super happy to see you.
I agree.
and just this genuine smile that we get from Will, which feels like this first smile that we've gotten from him, and like actual genuine, non-rueful, not evil, not manipulative smile that he has had is just him with his dogs. It's so good. Like I'm glad that Will has this moment.
I'm glad that we have this moment of seeing Will like that.
That too. Yeah.
Right? Because I think Alana says in the last episode that his dogs remind her of the best in him. And I think that is very true. Because Alana has a way of being so right about Will, but also so wrong. And like she is so right about that part, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And they talk about, like, it's an awkward conversation between the two of them because she even says, like, I was, you challenged the way that I, all of my preconceptions about you. And Will is like, well, like the way you think isn't always a reliable guide to who I am. Like, I mean, this, like, and I love that line so much because there was a point where Will completely trusted Alana, both as a friend and as a colleague and as a professional. And it feels like all of that trust has been wiped away clean now.
Of course, but isn't that like it? I feel like that's a normal reaction also to everything that's going on, right? Like, because I feel like everyone around Will, well, especially Jack and Alana, because like those are the two people that he trusted before. Sadly, we can't talk about Beverly because Beverly is literally in pieces.
No way he's going to bring her back like Miriam last. That's not going to happen.
No, she's not coming back. Beverly's not coming back. So Jack and Alana are both like reaping what they sowed with Will during his time in prison, right? Like Will had so very little power when he was in prison. If someone wanted to talk to him, like he just had to be moved to his little crate and he had to listen to them. Like, but now he can just walk away. Like Jack had to convince him to come to the crime scene. And even then, like, Will didn't even tell him everything. And so, like, Alana can, and she's going to later in the scene, like, she can scold him all she wants, but Will can just walk away. And that's such a different dynamic now for these two, because they were kind of maybe like dealing with quote unquote romantic overtures before this. And Will was the one who was particularly keen on her. And now he's just walking away. And like, good for him, like good for you for taking back that power of truly living in your freedom.
And it's interesting because Hannibal did something in the previous episode that's exactly the same. Like when Jack comes to him and says, "We found another body," Hannibal pulls back and is like, I have to let go of all of this. Right. Like, so he's literally doing the thing that Will now has the power to do. And I love this moment where Alana is talking and she basically tells him that she can't trust him anymore because of what he did to Hannibal. She believes this as, absolute truth that he ordered this man to go kill Hannibal, which is the truth. Like he did that. Like we have to acknowledge that. But at the same time, like she's like, I can't forgive you for that. And asked him like, is Hannibal safe? And I just love that his response, from me or for you, as he realizes like, oh, these two have gotten closer since I've been away. Like these two have a relationship together. And this again, like I think is going to cause him to pull away and add more layers to that veil that he's wearing. Right. Yeah,
exactly. He's like, oh, I can't trust her either. Like, 'cause she's just going to go back and tell Hannibal everything, right? So, like, the veil is there. I agree with that.
I hope Will gets a friend by the end of season 2. Just a single friend, just a friendly person, just somebody to like, I don't know, like let's watch reruns of MASH and have a drink. You know what I'm saying? Just somebody to chill out with.
It makes me so scared when you say this stuff. You know what happens, right? Like you know what happens. So like
I'm just being hopeful.
You're either just saying stuff. Why are you hopeful on Hannibal?
I'm just hopeful. I'm hopeful that he's going to get a friend. Will needs a friend. Like I think you would agree with that. Will needs a friend.
That I agree with. I absolutely agree with.
We switch over to Jack's office where Chilton has arrived, and he is volunteering his service on the Ripper case. Jack immediately accuses him of having like a vested interest, and he's like, "Of course I do. Like I want to see Hannibal behind bars because Hannibal could kill me, and I would like to remain not dead for the sustainable future," which is a very funny line.
I'm so sad that I only realized how much I love Chilton in this episode, like because I think this episode really makes him shine in so many ways, and I'm just like, oh. He's so funny.
He's very good. He's absolutely very good. And it's, he offers. He's like, hey, look, I dug memories out of Gideon. I dug memories out of Will. I can do the same with Miriam Lass, even though she's not my patient. And Jack kind of pauses on this, and like, it's we don't ever really get clear motivation from Jack in some cases. Like
Right.
he seems to be suspecting Hannibal, right? Like he seems to have gone towards that spectrum as he tells, Will earlier that Miriam last didn't identify Hannibal, but that wasn't enough for him. So he still clearly suspects Hannibal, but at the same time, as Chilton's doing this, he's kind of like, why are you here? Like he's kind of like, why are you doing this? And almost thinking like, almost kind of protecting Hannibal in a degree, which is kind of interesting to me.
It is. And, I didn't know how to interpret this either. But the way that I managed to make it make sense in my mind was that, like you said, he still clearly suspects Hannibal. So why not work with Chilton? And I think that maybe it's because compared to Hannibal, like he's kind of a second-rate psychiatrist. So why work with someone who's kind of mediocre, right? Like
Absolutely,
he's like,
yeah.
well, I don't know, like you didn't help Will. So how could you possibly help Miriam?
Yes.
And I find that this is really interesting because we're going to talk about that later. Like if this is what Jack thinks, then what he thinks at the end of the episode makes no sense.
It's like he's caught in between wanting to believe something and actually believing something and finding evidence for it. It's like he can't really, he seems to be moving all over the place. And again, we forgive Jack a lot for being in this situation, and also be like, his wife dying in their bedroom at home too, right? Like we have to remember that. And also like, just the shock and awe of learning that all of these cases is the man that he's been chasing for years. Like there was never a copycat killer, that it was always the Ripper that he's been trying to catch, and he's been kind of outsmarted at every time, every moment.
Yes.
And so maybe now
he's probably been eating humans,
and he's also probably been eating human meat.
Like that would be enough to put me in like a facility. Just saying, like.
We talked about this on another podcast. Let's say me and it was an X-Men podcast, because there's a thing in X-Men comics, and I'm going to gross everybody out here, and I'm sorry, people, but if you don't know X-Men comics, like bear with me. But like everybody knows Wolverine can regenerate, right? So there was this idea in a particular X-Men comic book of like, all of the X-Men are stranded. Like, what do they do for food?
No.
yeah.
And they eat Wolverine.
They eat Wolverine because like it just comes back, and like, is that bad, right? Like, what actually makes eating human bad? Right. And kind of going to that point of like, I would not be comfortable eating Wolverine. Just want to say that straight out loud. But if I had learned later that I had eaten some Wolverine and I didn't know about it, I kind of wouldn't freak out about it. I'd be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like I didn't know. So it's not like I chose to do it. I think the choosing is what makes the eating the human meat the worst. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Mary's like, I
that,
cannot follow
Jeremy.
you down this path.
No.
I'm not walking down this with you.
No, it's because I know myself, and I know that like if I found out that somebody had fed me human, I would definitely have a very, very strong reaction to it.
That's fascinating to me, because I don't know that I really don't know that I would. Like I know that sounds disgusting, and I'm sorry everybody, but like
no, I mean that's fine.
It would be just one of those things of like, I mean, okay, like, I've already done it. Like, it didn't hurt me. It's super bad.
There's nothing you can change about it, right?
Yeah.
So I understand it in that sense, but there's this Criminal Minds episode where, and I mean, this is based on a true story actually, where somebody basically they're chasing a killer who like killed a young woman, and they didn't find her body, and at the search spot somebody shows up and serves them chili, and turns out that it's human chili.
Oh no.
Yes, exactly. And like that realization is so visceral, like as a viewer, when you realize that like it was human that they were all eating, that like I know that if I found something out like that, like about myself, I would have even more of a reaction than I did when I watched the episode. And not good.
Interesting. I probably shouldn't say anymore unless I get on a list somewhere. So we're just gonna move on through it. We're just gonna move through the episode before.
Well, that was a weird interlude. Let's move on.
Basically, I'm saying,
would you eat Wolverine?
Would you eat Wolverine? Like, let us know in the Spotify comments, everybody. Would you eat Wolverine?
In 3 months, we're going to get a bunch of comments saying, I would never eat Wolverine.
And we're going to be like,
why are people saying this?
What did we say? Oh, my God. We see Miriam being fitted for a prosthetic arm and hand, which is a good way to get the budget down, because CGI in her armor way is hard. We haven't really talked about Miriam since we last saw her, but I just want to say that Anna Klumsky is one of my favorite actors, and she does such an amazing job in this episode. Just her facial emotions as she's going through this, it looks like she's genuinely like terrified. And she gets to meet Will. And Will says that he's not an actual FBI agent. He used to teach, but up until 2 days ago, he was in a mental asylum, care of the Chesapeake Ripper. And she's like, "Oh yeah, the guru told me that you would be the best person to talk about with him." And he's never heard this nickname before as the guru. So he's like, "Who is the guru?" And she's like, "Oh, it's Jack." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Will does not like that.
I don't think Will likes
like,
that at
oh,
all.
No.
Yeah. And they kind of.
And it also, I think, sorry, it's just that like it creates such a stark difference between these two people who have had a similar treatment from Jack, and one of them still idolizes him, and the other like really does not, and it's just so interesting to me.
It's fascinating to me that Miriam still doesn't blame Jack on this at all, right? Like that's like because
Jeremy, look at what happens at the end of this episode for Will.
You're okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Of course it's fascinating that she doesn't blame him, because of course I would blame him, but of course I wouldn't go back to therapy with Hannibal Lecter knowingly.
Yeah, this could easily just be like more repressed memories and things like that. Like she doesn't even remember going to see Hannibal, so she just doesn't have any. Yeah, poor Miriam. I
know. That's awful.
They talk about not remembering what they did to him. They both talk about the light that was used to, and Will describes it as, inducing seizures and lost time. And Miriam remembers the same light. Describes him standing in front of it, silhouetted while chamber music plays. And she says that his voice would pull me in like a current. And I love that the imagery there, just because water is typically associated with Will. And her being pulled in like a current to Hannibal is very interesting to me.
Well, this is why I'm kind of thinking that a lot of this didn't necessarily happen over the last 2 or 3 years, but they happened like fairly recently. Because Hannibal had already been changed by Will.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. Or that's what I think. And that might not be true. Like, I don't know, but it's something that would make sense to me.
It makes more sense than him planning this for like 2 fucking years, right? Like, which is something that I complained about at the beginning of the episode. Like, if he saw that Will was captured, made a decision that like, oh no, I want Will is more fun out than me having framed him, and then immediately started figuring out who to frame next, right? Like that makes a lot more sense to me than him, building her up into Chilton hating territory over the course of 2 years, because how would he even know who Chilton is, right? Like why? Well,
especially with the last episode being about him composing music, right? Mm-hmm. I think that like he saw a problem and he needed to find a solution. And he had all of the crafting resources to be able to do that. And he was like, you know what? Chilton betrayed me. So this is what we're going to do.
Will tells her, you and I are part of his design. He wanted you to be free and he wanted me to be free. And she responds to this saying, neither of us are really free. He's not done, which is kind of spooky when we have a season and a half left of TV show to go.
I know, right? I realized that the other day that we're halfway through like the podcast.
I know.
Which is kind of crazy considering that we started recording this like this summer.
We've gone quick. This has gone extremely quick.
Yeah. But I also wonder if we're going to get more interaction between these two, or if Miriam is just going to be like written out now. Like, I don't know. I guess I'll find out like in an hour or so when I watch the next one. But these two just have so much in common, right? Like they each feel like a different version of the Frankenstein monster, right? Like with missing parts of themselves that were replaced with other things, like to quote the show, like furniture rearranged in their minds, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I think, and Will had this connection with Abigail as well before, things happened with Abigail. Like that, the idea that you have something in common because you've both been psychically driven by the same person to, like you said, rearrange furniture in their minds. I don't remember exactly what happens with Miriam if she shows up after this, to be honest with you. I feel like she does, but I don't remember it offhand. Some of the details get lost. Okay. Season 1 I'm definitely like, I've probably seen like 4 or 5 times, but season 2 and season 3 I haven't seen as much. So we're gonna get to season 3, I'll be like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. I'm right there with you. So as they're talking, we fade from Will's face to Hannibal, who's arriving in his kitchen in the dark. And as he goes through his refrigerator, he catches Will's scent and says that it's the same old aftershave, but this time it's been too long in the bottle. And Will is here with a gun and aims a gun at Hannibal. And he says he wants to resume their last kitchen conversation, which was, of course, in Abigail Hobbs's home as they were as he was about to shoot him, and then as he got shot by Jack. They don't really talk about that bullet wound. Like, I don't know, Jack shot that dude, and we don't really talk about that very much anymore. But that's okay.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
He says, one of the questions that Hannibal asked him was, would it feel good to kill you? And he talks about his urges and him cultivating his urges into the inspirations that they now are, which is an exact quote from Hannibal, what Hannibal said to him in the kitchen. And it just dying, just absolutely fucking dying about this. Like, because it's exactly what Hannibal wants to happen, and he's repeating it back to him.
Well, and this is also like, so remember when we had that talk about like how Hannibal thinks that like Hannibal would be willing to die if it meant changing Will for good, right? Like that was like, we saw that it would be a good life purpose for him if he were to die, to transform Will into like the killer that he sees him to be. And like that was on my mind during this entire scene, because I was like, we know that Hannibal could overpower Will at this point, right? Like, we know, we've seen him in enough situations that like a gun isn't necessarily like a big deal to him, right? Like, he is fast enough. He's anyway.
I want you to, just by the way, I want you to keep that exact phrase in mind when you watch the next episode. Like, he is fast enough. And I just want you to keep that in mind, because something happens and you'll know it when it does. But I just want to just keep that in the back of your head while you're watching the next episode later today.
Well, because I'm thinking about the Beverly moment, right? Yeah. Like, where she has a gun and he just like, he's like
spraying into action, right? Like, just like moves super fast.
Style.
Exactly. Yeah. Hannibal is very calm for someone who has a gun pointed at him, and just straight up asks, how would killing me make you feel? And he kind of asks these like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not rhetorical questions of like, what the Ripper wants with him and what the Ripper wants with Miriam Lass. And he says, if you kill me and I'm not the Ripper, you've murdered an innocent man. But if I am the Ripper and you kill me, who will answer your questions? Don't you want to know how this ends? And man, we've talked about temptation on the show. We've talked about Hannibal's ability to manipulate people. And I think this absolutely works. Like, Will is, I think, again, we talked about him being kind of fascinated with Hannibal in a different way, but like he kind of does want to see where this ends. He kind of wants to be able to, and I think there's a couple of things happening here. Number one, I think he absolutely wants to see what Hannibal has in mind, right? Like, he's just his brain can't help but want to know, but also like he wants to catch him. He doesn't want to just kill him. So he's kind of fighting that internal struggle of like, I don't want to kill him because killing him is wrong, but I do want to catch him, and I need to be able to have evidence to do that.
I'm going to have to go revisit some of that, because in my master's degree, I took a class on what was called at the time pro-woman discourse, because the word feminist didn't exist, in the 16th century in Venice. And that was literally what the class was about. And we read a lot of writing about the garden, right, in the Bible, and pro-woman interpretation of what that moment really is. And so depending on whose interpretation you read, either the apple is about sex, or it's about knowledge, or it's about both, right? And so the temptation that the serpent presents Eve with is about either sex, knowledge, or knowledge of sex. And I think that this is like
you think this is the apple? You think this is the metaphorical apple? I think
this is the apple. Yeah, because if I am the Ripper, who will answer your questions? Knowledge. Don't you want to know how this ends? Knowledge of sex. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
And Will doesn't have an answer to this. Instead, he just puts the gun to Hannibal's face. Hannibal looks away with his eyes closed, and then Will just kind of walks away as Hannibal like kind of looks back. And it's just this moment of Will making a decision, I think, and showing that Hannibal. I think that Hannibal wants to know if Will is a killer, right? And this is Will kind of testing himself a little bit of whether he's willing to do it. And at this point, he's not, which I think makes Hannibal a little excited. I think he's like, yes, this is. I still have more to do.
I still have a chance, like twirling his hair, like, oh my God, he didn't kill me. He had a gun to my face and he didn't kill me. And I just love that Hannibal played on Will's curiosity, right?
Yes.
About him. Like that's literally what's going on, to be able to get him to not shoot him. Because I really don't think that Will has any doubts that Hannibal is the Ripper. So like that first question, like if if I'm not the Ripper, you murder an innocent man. I don't think that's a real concern for Will. Like I think Will knows by this point that Hannibal really is the Ripper. But I do think that Will wants to know at this point what Hannibal's design is. Like he kind of wants to see this play out, or maybe he wants to hear Hannibal's music composition play out, like to see his artwork finished, right? And to see, I don't know, like how he feels about that. Because I think he has, I don't know, I think Will is fascinated by that particularly.
Yes.
Right? Like he wants to see this finished.
And I think also like there's a moment here of, oh man, I had a thought and then it just disappeared. Where did you go? Thought, come back.
Oh, see it.
Come back to me. Come
Goodbye,
back.
thought.
Come back. Also like there's a level of professional curiosity here too, right? Like it's not like this is Will's job is to catch serial killers. And he's particularly good at it. So like the idea that he could catch this dude and determine what his motive is also like professionally, I think, stimulating to him. So there's a lot of things happening in Will's mind right now.
Yeah.
I love this. We see a black and white shot as Miriam enters Hannibal's office and introduces herself as a trainee, and it's kind of a repetition of what we saw in the memories of Hannibal as he remembered what he did with Miriam. But the show does a little quick trick on you as it fades into color and Jack follows her in, and we're not quite sure like if this is real or what's happening, but we very quickly realize no, this is happening. Jack brought Miriam here to be hypnotized by Hannibal. And we even get some of the same repetition. Like she walks over and sees like the same drawings that he was doing. And there's a line here that I really love where she compliments on his drawing. He says, "Yeah, I love portraiture." You can see the subject's emotions only betrayed by the expression on their face as he kind of looks at her very carefully. And it's just the confidence that he has in his ability to brainwash this woman is just so fucking terrifying and mind-boggling. I hate it so much. It's just so scary to me.
But it really is. Like the fact that he is so confident about it. Unbelievable. Like it, and what the fuck, Jack?
Why are you if you believe anything about Hannibal here, like if you have any sort of doubt about Hannibal, why would you bring Miriam here?
But I think maybe he's thinking like, oh, maybe it'll bring back memories. Maybe I'll see like how she reacts to him. And so that makes me think that like he doesn't, when we were talking about walking the walk earlier, he's not walking the walk.
Yes.
He's like, again, putting her in harm's way, because this could be potentially very emotionally damaging for her, right? To be face to face with this man who has presumably kept her captive for 2-3 years. I don't remember. Is it 2 years or 3 years?
It's 2 years. Yeah.
It's 2 years. Thank you.
And which is an incredible amount of time to keep somebody. I think that is a wild thing to do.
Absolutely. And it kind of makes me think that Jack is just curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And not walking the walk is a really good thing because he can apologize to Miriam all he wants to for, being reckless with her life. But it doesn't really mean anything if he continues to be reckless with her life, which I feel like he's doing right now. If you have any sort of doubt of Hannibal, why would you bring this woman here? There's so many other professionals in the world that you could go to.
Chilton just offered his services. We know he's done something like this before. Use him.
Yeah, there's not 4 psychiatrists in Baltimore. I guarantee you there's more than 4. There's got to be...
Fly someone in from California.
Right? The FBI has contacts. Send this girl to be treated by a fucking person in the FBI and not just this... Anyway, but yeah, I think Jack just is being again reckless, and part of this is probably just plot. They want us to see that how well Hannibal has played this girl, has brainwashed this girl. But it's just it's one of those things of Jack, why would you ever make this decision? He mentions
it's again about the FBI not knowing how to FBI
yes.
to such a degree that it becomes a little distracting.
Yeah. And he tells her about the voicemail that she left and plays it for her, and she does not remember. And then they start to actually uncover memories. Like Hannibal sits her down. There's the light with the metronome right beside her as he kind of talks her through going into a safe place. She repeats the line on the voicemail message as we see her kind of doubled on the screen as her like leaving that message at the same time saying it out loud, which is very meaningful. Like, I don't want to die like this. I've made a huge mistake. Like, reaching out to Jack in that moment at this point, and Jack is right there and unable to do anything, I think is kind of fascinating. And this is it's just terribly sad. But she does remember one thing as she looks at Jack, and we see Jack full of punctures, just like the wound man has been drawn. And she remembers the wound man. Like, that's the thing that she comes out of it, come out of her with, which of course is the thing that she saw that made her realize like that Hannibal was the Chesapeake Ripper to begin with. So
I don't even know what to say. No, but like, so realist, like, I do not know what to say about the scene because like, as a traumatized person, like I have so many feelings about what's going on here and how literally nobody in this room is there to protect this woman. They're all there to try and see like what's going to happen. Like like, and it makes me think about like when people talk about like the re-traumatization of victims by the legal and police system. And that this is just such a real example of that, right? And I don't know, like, I'm just so disillusioned with it. I'm just like, yeah, of course they would do that, because who the fuck cares about this woman and what she went through, right? Like, all they want to know is all Hannibal wants is to protect himself, and all Jack wants is to catch the killer.
Exactly.
Like, nobody actually cares about her.
And it's the same thing that we went through with Will, and it's the same thing that we went through with Abigail. Like, Abigail had two dads that were trying to protect her, probably the worst two dads. Welcome to our comedy show, the worst two dads. But it's over and over again, the show proves that, like, without any sort of friendly advocate, like, you're so vulnerable to the people with power above you. And it's something that, like, I think that's probably a topic for a bigger podcast than just a Hannibal TV show, but it's also like extremely true. Like, it's one of those situations in the real world that are very frustrating, and difficult to change, because power corrupts. Very, very, very absolutely, power corrupts.
Oh, for sure.
I was not having a conversation, but somebody was having a conversation in like some forums or a Discord somewhere, and they were kind of bemoaning the fact that I don't remember who, somebody had some allegations accused of them, like a rapper or a rock star or something. And they were like, what is it about being like a famous musician that, encourages these people to do these awful things? And it's just, it's just power.
It's power.
Yeah. It's just like, they feel like they can get away with anything, and,
it's
do horrible
they
things.
Can.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah. And it's, you don't put these celebrities up on a pedestal. You just don't do it. Like, there's not over the years, I've just dropped my idolization of every single celebrity / musician / whatever. They're all completely suspect in my mind. They could be the nicest people in the world, but they're all completely suspect because they have power to do over other people. And it's frustrating. So yeah. Oh,
poor Miriam. Anyway. Poor Miriam. Is what's going on here.
From here, we go to the lab. We're going to do some science stuff. They found a partial print on some of the flowers. One of it is in the print. It was matched to Hannibal. They also found some trace drugs, which Alana points out that because Alana is there for some reason. Alana's like, Chilton used those on both Will and Gideon. And then Jack remembers what Gideon told him that we were kind of confused about in the last episode, that you've got the right box, but you're looking in the wrong corner.
And I was like, they'll just explain it in the later episode.
And then they did it in the next fucking episode. It was so perfect. When I watched this, I was like, oh, they just literally answered Barry's question from last episode. Perfect.
Yeah. But I hate what they did with it. Like, I mean, I love it because it's really good.
Yes.
But like, again, I'm very upset with Jack and Alana, frankly. Anyway, moving on.
We cut from here. So they're basically saying Jack is putting together that Chilton could be the Ripper. And even Z is like, wait, who are we saying is the Ripper? Is it Dr. Lecter or is it Dr. Chilton? Like, who are we talking about here? And we switch over to Chilton, who arrives at his fucking palatial house. It's hard for me to watch this scene without looking at the background of this just amazing fucking $8 million home that he lives in, apparently. With these like towering... he goes downstairs and there's a huge wine cellar. He has a meat lab. Like, what are you doing with the whole like meat shop, Chilton? Like, you can't even eat meat anymore. Like, you have to.
Why does Chilton have a meat shop
Why
or
does he
whatever
have
it
a
is that you
full
called it?
fucking
Like,
butcher?
why?
Why does he have this? Like, it's so crazy.
But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised, and this is where like I think fan fiction would be really interesting. If Hannibal was like, you should install this in your own home.
Right? Yeah, like encouraging him. There's very much an aspect of Chilton trying to emulate his quote unquote betters, what he sees as his societal betters.
Yes.
And I'm sure buying a home like this that has these features and things that he will probably never use, right, is part of that. Of like,
yes,
it very much reminds me of forgive me for bringing up Kanye West, I'm sorry, but Kanye West and Kim being interviewed, and he's like, you've never even been in that swimming pool. Like, you've never swam in that swimming pool. Like, Chilton has never used this meat lab for anything.
100%.
He just wanted to have it. He just had to have it to have it. Anyway, as he opens the door and walks to his house, he hears a beeping noise. And as he kind of traces it downstairs, it turns into a silent noise, which we as the audience, of course, know is a heart monitor that has stopped.
Yeah.
And as he opens the door to his fucking meat shop, he sees Gideon. And Gideon now has all of his limbs cut off, not just his leg. And there's pieces of him literally like wedged in some saws. And he's been on this like surgical table. It's super gross. And Chilton like has the absolute most natural reaction that we've seen on the show so far, which is to basically fall backwards and be terrified of what he has seen.
I was like, oh, finally, somebody's reacting normally to something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And he runs upstairs and he trips because there's somebody has placed luggage out. And he trips over it, and who appears but Hannibal in his murder jammies.
Oh my god!
And at the same time, the FBI has arrived, and Hannibal quickly drugs Chilton and tells him as Chilton's going to sleep, when you wake up, your only choice will be to run. And yeah, this seems pretty dangerous for Hannibal, but like you could tell Hannibal's having a great time doing it.
Oh, he's having so much fun. Okay. So you know how I feel about Chilton, right? Like I've been very clear that I dislike the kind of man that he is, but that I kind of love the character and whatnot. But there's a part of me in that moment when I was watching it that was like, no one's going to believe that it was Chilton. Like, no one's going to believe that. Like, he doesn't have the brains for that, and everybody kind of knows it and dances around it. And, like, a whole plot line of the show revolves around the fact that, like, Hannibal is so incredibly intellectually superior to Chilton, and everybody knows it. And now you're telling me that, like, people are just going to right out believe that Chilton did all of those things? I was like, there's no way. Nobody's going to believe it.
I think, too, there's an aspect of this where the FBI sees what it wants to see in victims sometimes, or in suspects sometimes.
Yes.
So, like, the idea that Chilton has been kind of dismissed on an intellectual and professional basis by Will, by Hannibal, and by Alana in some ways, I think makes Jack even more likely to believe him of like, oh, this person has a grudge. Like, this person doesn't quite fit into society or whatever. Like, once again, Jack is failing to understand like the scope of Hannibal's, intellectual prowess, I guess. Like, right. He's still operating within the standard FBI book of like, oh, we're looking for bedwetters and fire starters and small animal killers and things like that. He's not able to, or he hasn't been able to break away from that mold. So Chilton being here, I think, makes a lot of sense, especially since Hannibal's planted a lot of evidence. I would have,
yes, of course, but that happened with Will too.
I was just about to say, like, I would have liked to see Jack have like a moment of like, this does seem a little too easy. Like, this does seem like exactly what happened to Will. I love all of this, though. I'll be honest with you. From a story perspective, and like from watching the episode, like I am fucking fascinated. I'm glued to the screen. So,
I mean, if I'm being honest, again, I also feel like this is very much like Jack's character to do that. Like, I think I'm not blaming the writing. I'm blaming the characters reacting the way that they do. Yeah. Because this is also something that would happen in real life. Like, when you're like, how do you believe that this person did this thing? Yet like it feels like the kind of contradictions that people express in real life.
Yes.
And I love that part. It is incredibly frustrating to me as somebody who sees like patterns and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's a testament to how good the show is that we have these kind of issues, right? Like it's like you said, you're not blaming the writing, you're blaming the character, which I think is a sign of really great writing.
Yes, absolutely.
Penny, it's okay. I'm sorry that Rosie barked.
Penny girl.
She's so stressed out. She just can't relax today. I don't know why.
No, well, I mean, I guess she doesn't like the fact that we're talking about cannibalism and that kind of stuff.
She doesn't have the brain cells to understand cannibalism, I can promise you. She doesn't get it. She'd be like, so it's just meat? Do you just eat it? Like she doesn't have food? That's just food. Okay, yeah, no problem.
I mean, I guess dogs wouldn't have a problem with eating human, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like...
it's not cannibalism to them.
It isn't!
They got no problems.
Can that be the title of the episode? It's not cannibalism to them.
Yes, it can be. So Chilton wakes up, and he is covered in blood. And I have lost my place in my notes. Here we go. Chilton he wakes up. He has a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. He immediately drops the knife. He's covered in blood. He's extremely groggy. He realizes he is covered in blood, and as he stands up, he sees a blood trail going to his kitchen, where he finds one body perched on the counter with all of his guts kind of spilled out in front of him, and then another body on the table, which is another replication of the wounded man. And he is absolutely terrified, as you might imagine. So he very quickly packs a bag and then runs to the only other person that he can think of to help him, which is Will Graham, and arrives at Will's house and just looks at him covered in blood saying, "May I use your shower?" Which is just very funny.
And I love that Will is just so unbothered by this. He's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, come on in, have a shower.
Meanwhile, Jack and the rest of the team are arriving at Chilton's house, finding all of this evidence, and Jack starts putting the pieces together, saying like, oh, he was there on the case before Alana and Hannibal were there. He had access to files. He knew all of this information. He could have easily done all of this. He would know everything the Ripper would need to know. And it's like, is Jack dumb? Like, is the character of Jack Crawford dumb? Like, we don't think so. But like, what is it going to take, Jack? As Will asked him earlier.
Yeah, I think, again, yes, what is it going to take? And also, like, I see this as him disbelieving Will again, right? So after making these big promises about how, like, he was so sorry about not looking for him anymore, not looking for Miriam, he is again like just discounting what Will is saying, right?
Yes.
Because Will has been manipulated by Hannibal or by Chilton, and Will cannot have a thought of his own, right? And I see this as wishful thinking on Jack's part personally, because like I said, like it makes no sense to me that Jack, well, I mean, it makes sense, but it's very frustrating that he would do that. But like that he's like, that Chilton's not good enough to recover memories from Miriam, but that he is good enough to be the mastermind of this whole thing.
Yes,
you know? Like,
absolutely.
It just seems so silly to me. And so he's wishful thinking because he's like, this would explain everything. And this would make it so that I was not wrong about all of these people in my life.
Yes.
And I think that is an easier thing to accept, even though it goes against a lot of his beliefs about Hannibal at this point and about Chilton. But it's easier to believe that Chilton did this because then he wouldn't have been so wrong about Hannibal and about Will and about, you know,
he's almost
Miriam
he's almost desperately latching onto this, right?
Yes,
which is kind of frustrating because we saw him latch onto the stuff with Will so quickly. So now he's latching onto this, and you're like, what is it? Again, just like Will asked him, like, who is he going to have to kill for you to understand? Like, who is it going to have to be? Chilton is out of the shower and he's freaking out, realizing that he has the same exact profile as Hannibal does. And he kind of yells out, "I'm his patsy." And Will is trying to calm him down, and he says, "I have corpses on my property. You just threw up an ear," which is just like Chilton in panic mode is so good and so funny. Like, I just love it so much.
The delivery of that line
is so good. You just threw up an ear.
And again, like finding out that this actor is actually like a really incredible stage actor makes so much sense in this moment.
He's got so much presence. Yeah, once they give him some stuff to do,
Yes.
like when he's not being like the condescending like wannabe snob, he's
Yes.
so much fun.
Yes.
He says he's going to
And
run, and
Yeah.
and he says like Will's like, you know, I'm going to prove that Hannibal is a ripper, and he's like, and I think Chilton says, yeah, and I'm gonna see you do that from the beach. Like I'm not going to be here to stay while you do that, which is just very funny. Like I trust you to do this, but I'm not going to be around to do it for you.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I believe it, but I'm not going to be waiting around in prison. I saw what happened to you, kind of thing.
But Will has already called Jack. And Chilton looks so betrayed by this. And he even pulls the gun that he carried with him on Will, and Will just has this smile. And he looks at it, what Chilton says, "You're not a killer, Frederick." And again, just like this idea of, are you a killer? Do you have it in you? Can you do this? Like, are you able to do this? That's kind of been a through line from the show, from Hannibal to Will Garrett Jacob Hobbs to Gideon to now Chilton. And Will just looking at him and knowing and realizing like, there's no way that you're going to shoot me. And just turning around and walking away is, I think it's a powerful moment. Like it's Will recognizing like, oh, no. You're not like Hannibal. You're not potentially like me, right? Like Will knows he can pull the trigger, and if he has to, but he knows Frederick can't.
This is also an interesting way to put Will in a similar situation that Hannibal was just a few moments ago when he had a gun drawn on him.
Yes.
And even though, like, obviously the relationship between Hannibal and Will is not the same as the one between Will and Chilton, like, I think that this is also a way to show that both Will and Hannibal didn't flinch in that moment because of their own reasons, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Jack arrives, and Will goes out to meet him. And Will kind of shouts at Jack, like, "Why'd you come alone, Jack? Why'd you come alone?" Like, basically, I think implying that Jack is there to murder Chilton in cold blood for the things that he's done. And Will says, like, "I'll bring him out. He's got a gun. I'll bring him out for you." And Jack pushes past him and says, "Good. I'm glad he has a gun." And as Jack goes in, we realize Chilton has already rabbited out the back door. He's running through the snow. There's a moment here that Autumn pointed out that like Jack like yells out Chilton's name, and I don't know what Lawrence Fishburne is doing to his voice here. He's definitely damaging some vocal cords, but it is terrifying. It sounds super scary.
And that's why I was like, because it took me a second to put it all together, because to me, like, it doesn't make sense, but he thinks he killed Beverly.
Yes.
Right? He thinks that he did this to Miriam last. And I was like, oh my God, okay. But because I was just like, why is it? I don't get it. Like, why Chilton? Like, he's such a little baby, poor little baby. And no, okay, he thinks that.
Yeah. The murders.
Yeah. So I feel so bad for him.
And not just that, but the outwitting too, right? Like, oh,
Yes.
I've been chasing you for literal years, and now I'm finally going to catch you. And
I feel so bad for him, because imagine how painful it must be to run outside in the snow when you need a cane to walk, like, just normally. Like,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's horrible.
I think about that all the time. like pain and chronic pain, like it's kind of a thing. And so I'm just like, poor Chilton. Like, this must be like literally the worst day of his life. Literally. Like, poor baby.
And yeah, he's running through the snow. There's a brief chase scene. Jack fires, I think, twice, and eventually Chilton just drops down and like turns back and holds his hand up, completely surrendering. And then we skip from here to Chilton in the lab, just as we saw Miriam earlier in the episode, being processed for any kind of trace evidence. And he tells Z, "I need to speak to Will Graham." And Z, being extremely angry at this potential killer, says, "I don't care what you need."
Again, right? Like, Beverly.
Yes, absolutely. Like, if you put yourself in Z's position, like, this is the killer that killed one of my friends, my coworker. And then we see Chilton in the orange jumpsuit, much like we saw Will at the end of season 1. And he is also being interviewed by Alana, just like Will was in season 1, which he points out is one last indignity, because it has to be her. Like, he's been made fun of so many times by her. He's been looked down upon by her so many times that this is one last indignity. And she says that she believes that he was using Gideon and Will, psychically driving them to point to Hannibal, and he completely denies it, saying, like, "Don't say I didn't warn you, Dr. Bloom." And this is a really painful thing. I get real when movies or TV shows do that thing where, like, they frame somebody and they're innocent and they can't trust anybody or whatever, I get real tense. It's a real tension for me. It's hard for me to watch shows like that, to be honest with you. Like if it goes on for too long, I'm just like, I can't handle it. Like just fix it. I don't know what to do. Just fix it.
Oh boy, that season with Will must have been real hard.
It's easier when you know a lot about what's coming. But
yes, that's true.
This is one of those moments of like, you're the sane person in the room and everybody around you is insane for believing something, but you can't say it because people are looking at you like you're absolutely insane for talking about it. And it's so frustrating to hear him just like plead to Alana to listen to him, and Alana's just absolutely not doing it.
It's so funny because I re-listened actually to episode, anyway, I don't remember, the one that came out around Christmas, that we did, like the podcast episode. And I said in that one that one of my recurring nightmares is like trying to get people, like telling people something about a danger that's coming and nobody listening to me, right?
Yes.
And this is what that feels like. And I think that's why like I have like in part so much sympathy for Chilton, because he knows, and so does Will, but Will has learned that like saying it out loud doesn't make a difference, which is like a step beyond that level of horror, right? Yeah. Like it's the resignation to the horrors. Like the horrors persists, but so do I, kind of thing.
The horrors persist is a good name for a Hannibal podcast too.
Yes, the horrors persist. Yes, that's true. Oh boy!
As he's having this conversation with Alana, Jack has Miriam behind the glass once again, and. Man, I mentioned it before, but Anna Klumsky's face, like her emotions during the scene are just incredible as we see like one tear fall from her eye and her face like crumple. And she turns herself and she goes, this is him. And she like cries into Jack's chest. And she sees him in her mind with the light in the silhouette. We see flashes of the flashing light in the silhouette, and we hear his voice like talking to her. And then I think one of the most shocking moments of the episode, and maybe the series, is her grabbing Jack's gun and then shooting Chilton in the face through the glass, looking almost astonished that she was able to do that. And Alana hits the floor. We see a lot of this happening in slow motion. Chilton reels back in his chair like he has a bullet hole in his cheek. It's a wildly shocking moment for this episode.
I was not expecting that. It was incredibly shocking to me, and I can only imagine like rewatching it how much you're seeing the tension build up and everything. Like it must be such a different experience to rewatch it knowing what's going to happen. And again, like I just feel so bad for Chilton because he did some really shitty things, right? Like we know that. I've pointed those out as they've happened because I dislike men like him. But he really didn't deserve to die like that. Like it's so sad. Yeah,
it's a bummer. And it's a very neat thing that Hannibal has accomplished here, right? Because using the person that he kidnapped to kill the person that is suspected of doing all of his crimes, while also leaving all of this evidence to say that he pre-did those crimes, is a lot more elegant. Like, I didn't think about this until just now, but your thing about learning about the voice from Abigail, learning to like not leave Will alive, right? Like, like not to leave.
Well, that's also the thing that he couldn't bring himself to do with Will.
Yes, absolutely that. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. But he could program her to do it to Chilton because he doesn't care about Chilton at all, and it nips everything in the bud. Like there's not going to be a constant litany of Chilton going to Jack and saying it was Hannibal because he can't argue for himself. He's dead. It's
quote unquote over now, right?
What a mastermind Hannibal is, everybody.
What a great composer.
What a great discoverer of music and art. Speaking of, Hannibal is sipping wine and in his office when there's a knock at the door, and who is there but Will Graham? He's got what looks like a fresh haircut, a fresh shower. He's got a slutty little curl on his forehead. Sorry, but is it dude with curly hair? I know what you're doing, Will. I've tried to do this myself. I know exactly what you're trying to do right now with that slutty little curl.
That is a slutty little curl.
Just begging somebody to brush it off your forehead. That's all that curl is there for. Is just to tip somebody to touch you. That's it. Like, let me just get that off your forehead, my friend. He's dressed up for this appointment.
He is. He certainly is, Jeremy. And I remember roasting Alana for showing up to Will's house dressed up on a weekend. And I will roast Will with just as high heat as I roasted Alana, because I am an equal opportunist roaster when it comes to people showing up dressed up to their crushes.
Yes. We haven't really brought things back to our theme in quite some time. Obviously, like Chilton having this reaction and Miriam last having these reactions, I think also fit that. But like this specifically to me is Will responding to exactly the amount of heat that Hannibal is giving off. And you can interpret like Hannibal giving off heat in any way that you care to. AO3.com/Roeats. We'll talk about it there.
Slash GG Greer, actually, I think is more accurate in this.
Don't dox me, Mary. Don't let anybody know where my hot Hannibal fanfiction is.
Okay.
But yeah, him getting dressed up for this, and also I think like he looks so fresh. Like I couldn't help myself but imagine what he smells like, because like just because Hannibal made the comment of like, oh, it's that same old aftershave, but it was too long in the bottle. Like he went out and like got something. You know what I'm saying? He went out and got something. He went to like he went to a Dillard's and was like, spray me down.
Listen, we are in the era of Dr. Ali Lukes and her olfactory ethics PhD, right? And I just know when I looked at this man that he smells like new cologne.
100%. 100%.
All I'm going to say. There's clearly, like, he clearly smells good in that moment.
I mean, you can just look at him and tell he smells good. Like, you can just see it.
Yes.
He has to be let in. He has to be, and Hannibal says, "Are you going to point a gun at me?" And he says, "Not tonight," which is very
and
funny.
Hannibal is legit disappointed. Just saying, Hannibal is like, "Okay, fine."
And he realizes as he walks in that Hannibal has been waiting for him. He's kept Will's appointment time, and as Hannibal looks at his watch and says, "You're right on time." And Will, with his back to Hannibal, says, "I have to deal with you and my feelings about you," which is like a lot. It's a lot to deal with. It's insane the amount to deal with.
I think by that point, like my jaw was just on the floor. Like there were no notes being taken anymore. I was just like, oh my God, this is how those fics begin.
And Hannibal says that Will has to deal with what has changed, and says like, you have changed me. And points out that their friendship, just like the Ripper, is now over. Like they have to start from the beginning again, basically. And Will says it had to be Miriam. She was compelled to take her life back, basically intimating to Hannibal that he knows Hannibal brainwashed her to kill Chilton. Like he sees through the thing, even though Hannibal does absolutely nothing to acknowledge it, right? Like he's so good about like listening to these accusations without responding in any kind of way, shape, or form that makes you think that he even has any idea, right? Like he's so good at just not answering the questions that it's fascinating to me.
The human veil is strong.
100%, yes. And then Will shockingly looks at him and says, "I'd like to resume my therapy." I'm curious how you interpret Hannibal's face here, because Autumn said he looked like completely shocked, and I think he looks like he's barely repressing joy. Like he's just trying not to smile out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like
yeah,
like it's like I don't like doing like a fist pump. Like I feel like he's resisting the fist pump moment of like, I got this. Yes.
It reminded me of the moment when he's drinking like either wine or like whiskey with Jack, and Jack is talking about Miriam and it's like she was a brave girl, and Hannibal is like smiling and sipping. That's what it reminded me of. So I think I have to go with the like overjoyed, but with himself. He's like, oh, I did this.
Yes.
I did this.
Absolutely.
Look at what I did.
Hannibal sits down, Jack sits across from him in the classic like scene that we've seen before, and they're going to do some therapy, and then we get credits. This goes straight to the credits, and just like the idea that Miriam killed Chilton and that like everybody's going to believe that the Ripper is done, except for Will. Again, Will's going to be the only person that has any clue, and potentially Jack maybe, but Jack seems like he might just really buy in on this whole process. And that we're kind of back to square one with Hannibal and Jack building up their relationship from scratch again. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And like, talk about like the amount of heat that these characters have gone through in these last 6 episodes, like the changes that they have made, the reactions that they have caused with each other. It's just, how do you write this TV show so good? Like, how is it so good every single time? Every single episode is so good.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's really true. It's amazing. And again, like, I'm going to come back to what I said last episode. I miss Bedelia because like her last line to Hannibal about maybe you two deserve each other after all. Like, that is the only thing I could think of when Will said, I'd like to resume my therapy. I was like, well, then, you know what? At this point, you deserve each other.
You absolutely deserve one another.
Yes. I'm like, whatever happens to you at this point, Will, like, you deserve it. Like, you are making this choice. Like,
I'm so excited to get to the next episodes. Like, it's going to be so much fun.
I'm also really excited to see what it looks like for Will to be on a more even playing field with Hannibal, right? Because in season 1, like, it's not an even playing field. And also, like, in season 2, I would argue is not an even playing field because one of them is incarcerated and the other one is not. But here, they're both free. They both know what the other is about, and neither of them has a potentially fatal illness. So I feel like we're finally going to get to see them be more of their true selves with each other, and that is both incredibly exciting and terrifying, and I kind of love the way that it makes me feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, like when I mentioned them building their relationship from scratch, like, what does that look like now? Like, I go back to that scene of them eating breakfast in the first episode, right?
Yes.
That was one of the times that, like, they spent any kind of time alone with each other, and Will was already pulling back, and then Hannibal has that famous line of, you know, or that Will has that line of, like, you don't interest me at all.
I don't find you that interesting.
Yeah, I don't find you that interesting. It's like, you will. And of course, now we're back to kind of square one and them building that relationship. And of course he finds him interesting now, right? Like, he's just...
Of course he does.
Yes. And it's so interesting, like, how these characters just can't stop from each other. Like, they definitely... that Bedelia line of, like, maybe you two deserve each other after all is so true. Like, it's so apt for these two relationships. I love it so much. And it's interesting
because Bedelia didn't know Will Graham before, right? She only knew him through Hannibal.
Correct.
But she was able to tell, like, very accurately what he's about, which is interesting to me. Again, like, I hope that we get to see Bedelia again. I hope so. We'll see. Although I don't want to, because that might mean that she's going to die, and I don't want her to die.
I'll say if you look through IMDb credits, like, she's credited in future episodes, so you might.
Yes, but I don't look at IMDb specifically for that reason, Jeremy. Because I've been trying to keep myself as unspoilered as possible. Which has been really hard considering this show is over 11 years old.
It's really amazing. I can't believe... I'm so happy that our audience is being protective of you. I think they have just as much fun listening to your predictions and, like, kind of listening to your reactions that I do. And just a reminder for everybody that you can join the Discord. Like, go into the show notes and find the link tree. It has an open invite to our Discord. Just have to be 18 up. And then you can look at the Mary's reaction channel, and every time we record an episode, she runs there and watches the next one. So you can see it in real time, and it's super fun. So,
and it's actually really interesting because now in that channel there are people who are like, I want to skip ahead to seeing the end of season 2 because I want to know what she's in for.
Yes.
And I'm just like, this feels particularly sinister to me.
Some people want to know. Some people got to know what happened.
Yeah, and then you're making all of these things like, Mary, don't click. And everybody is like, 100%. Like, 5 people are like, 100. And I'm like, what?
What could it possibly mean? Yeah, I think overall I really, really like this episode. Like, Hannibal continues to be such a great episode. I like the fact, I complained at the front about it being like a little too super villainy, but I think talking through it with you and realizing that Hannibal probably only put this Gideon stuff or the Shilton kind of play within the last few months, right? Like, of however long Will has been in prison, I think is probably how long. Like, I can see keeping her around. I really liked your idea of keeping her around as like an escape hatch kind of thing. Like, I can dump this on Jack, and then they'll be so distracted I'll be able to do anything I want to. So it really made me like the episode better talking about about through it. So I'm into it. I like it.
Well, again, like I just want to give credit where credit is due, but like that's your doing. Like you were the one to kind of always remind me, like, but hold on, like he's not always planning ahead. Like he's just kind of a chaos gremlin. And I feel like that fits more with that description, right? Of him being like, okay, now that I have all of these colors, let me see how they look like on the canvas,
Yes.
right? Like, and so I just think that it makes more sense for the character of Hannibal that we've come to kind of like describe and flesh out together.
Yes, absolutely. The chaos gremlin with good planning skills.
Yes. Those are the scariest.
Those are
by
the
way.
terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
With that, are you ready to move to our haiku section?
I so am.
Why don't you start us off this week?
All right. You skewered my heart, but we deserve each other. I will get you back.
Ooh, that's sinister. I will get you back is sinister. Like it could sound romantic, but also sinister.
That's the whole point, literally. It's like it could be either very romantic if sang through Taylor Swift, for example.
Sure,
but
yeah.
put it into a death metal song, and that's a threat.
Let's send our haikus to Taylor Swift and just see if we can get a good album going. Let's Dr. Allison Swift, can you please just sing our haikus and get that weak-armed boy to help you produce it, and we'll go from there.
What about you?
My
What's your
haiku this week is in spite of it all, you were still there beside me, changing me again.
That's also pretty sinister, Jared.
Also
just
pretty
saying.
sinister, absolutely.
At this point, I feel like this is like dark romance. Like it's just like. Ooh.
Why do women like vampire stories so much? And murder husbands. Let's talk about it. Let's get into
Yes,
it.
exactly. Let's have an episode talking. We should have an episode talking about fan fiction in the Hannibal universe. Just saying.
You know, I've not ever, for as much as we joke about AO3, I'm not a real fanfic kind of guy. I've written some of it, but mostly kind of joking, kind of goofy stuff. I've never really delved into the actual reading part of that. I know you have a lot more than I do, and it would be kind of interesting to read some of that stuff and see like what are the top like Hannibal fanfic stuff, and what do they do? Like what's the kind of vibe of everything? Because I honestly don't know. So.
No, honestly, me neither. I haven't really, because the thing is, like, it's hard to read Hannibal fanfiction without, like, because apparently, like, the end of season 3 ends, like, very, very, like, spectacularly, and so it's difficult to find fanfiction that does not incorporate that.
Yes.
And so I've been very careful about what I read, and I'm very, very careful to read only, like, very short things that are, like, a little canon divergent and that kind of thing. So, yeah. But once we're done,
it's open season.
It's open season, baby.
Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for continuing to respond to us on Spotify and various other social media outlets. We really appreciate the communication. We're glad that you're kind of
continue answering our weird questions that we do not remember asking.
Answer our weird questions so I can send screenshots of answers to Mary and go like, what the fuck are we talking about here? What did we say? What did we do?
Like, why are people sending us all of this information?
But thank you so much for listening. We so much appreciate it. If you want to support the show, please just tell your Hannibal friends. Like if you've got friends in the fandom, talk about us. If you're going to a convention and you're going to meet Mads Mikkelsen, just hand them your phone and say listen to Rudy Eats. That's a normal thing to do. I think he'd get a kick out of probably. I bet Mads Mikkelsen would actually really like Jake's rap. I think like that video. I bet he would really
love
dig
that.
It. Yeah.
Oh, I re-listened to that actually yesterday, and it's so good. Like the way he gets that growl in his voice.
I know. It's
anyway,
so fun.
It's so good. It's so good.
I think I've been putting, because I haven't edited any of season 2 yet for various reasons, but I think I've been putting that at the end. With the new track at the beginning. Anyway, speaking of, thank you to Jake and Banshee Beat and Alex Streams Art for all of our art that's around the podcast. We super appreciate all of that. We'll be back next week, and until then, bon appetit, everybody.
Bon appetit.
Have you ever picked up a glass that you thought was half full, but it's actually really full?
Yes. And now you're all wet.
In the middle of the podcast, I dumped half of a glass of water in my lap.
Oh no!
I want you to know I've been sitting here
like
with
cold and wet.
I've been cold and wet for like 30, 45, maybe an hour. I don't know exactly what it was.
Oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry.
You were saying something and it was like meaningful, and you could hear me go, and then I laughed and I was like, but I don't want to interrupt her thought. Like, I'm just going to continue and pretend it never happened. So I did that, and yeah.
I think I heard that actually, and I was like, "Are you okay?" But I was talking, so I was like, "Okay, well, let's just continue." And if he says something, then I'll just...
It's so funny.
That's really funny. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened.
It's
to
okay.
you.
It's my own fault. Like, I just sometimes you don't know your own strength, you know.
Good morning.
Good morning. 11-year-old immediately logs on to Fortnite.
Hold on. Good morning.
Good morning.
I can hear you.
Yay.
Okay, I kicked you out of the room. Okay.
Yeah. Whenever we start a new recording session, it reloads it and it makes whoever is the guest like go through that process again, which is really annoying. So.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry about it. It's all good. I was just wolfing down a chocolate brioche, so it's all good.
Ooh, wolfing it down.
Yeah.
Autumn brought home some croissant yesterday, which were very tasty.
Oh, yum. That's so
very,
yummy.
very buttery.
Oh, yes. Well, that's, yes. 50% butter.
Yeah. They're not diet croissants. Like, there's not one of those things.
I mean, why would you want to have diet croissants? Though,
yeah, see, this is
my question.
I have the same question when it comes to like quote unquote like vegan meat.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you know, it's fine if you want to be a vegan. I don't really care. Like, I think there's probably some legit reasons to be that way. I'm not ever going to be that way personally, but
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, why do you? I mean, like, it's a hamburger. Like, it's a fundamental thing.
Yes. I know. Honestly, like, I don't, plus I don't love the texture of the vegan, like, beyond, but like, I don't, not to name anybody, but of like the fake meat, like, whoop. But I used to make at one point, I haven't made it in forever, but I used to make like vegan patties, but with like sweet potato and beans, and like that was really good because it was actually seasoned properly and it didn't pretend to be meat. That's
my thing, is like, I don't like, if you want to make a burger out of vegan stuff, like, that's totally like normal to me. But like, to be like, no, we're going to do our best to make this bean taste like a patty. I mean, like, just make the bean taste good.
Exactly.
You don't
it
have
doesn't need to
go
taste
through
like
this
something
process.
else. Although what I've heard from people who are like very, very vegan is that they say, you know, like sometimes, especially for people who are starting off with being vegan, like it's easier to have foods that are like,
similar to what they normally eat.
Exactly. There you go. That just feel normal, right? And so I'm like, okay, I can get that. I can get it too. I just like, I just don't like it. Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to.
And that's fine.
Oh, I took the blurriest picture of this ever, but I'm finally in my office and I sent you a picture of the lanyard that Autumn got you and I. I hit you via Discord. It's kind of blurry. I'm sorry. I don't know why I came out that way.
No, it's fine. I see. Oh, there's a knife. There's a cup. I'm excited to see what the cup means.
The teacup, yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited to delve into the idea of the teacup a whole lot. I think it's really interesting. So.
I see mushrooms. I see a heart, and I also see like a pomegranate shaped like a heart, which I love.
Because it's a sexy story.
It is a sexy story.
The spoilers channel on our Discord is
really?
is hopping this morning.
Oh no!
And it's basically just talking about the horniness of the show. Because our friend Nell like jumped ahead, so she watched the episode the next episode.
Oh, okay.
So, which is the horse episode. So,
the horse episode.
The famous horse episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do I even have notes up? I am so unprepared this morning. Let me tell you. Nothing like waking up at 5 a.m. and then immediately falling asleep on the couch. Oh, no, I do have notes up.
Have you been, like, sleeping better?
Yeah, I have. the weird side effects of this drug it's very, very annoying. But I'm getting to the point where I can like kind of feel it coming on, so I can kind of take some medicines to try to cut it off, which is good, because if I let it like get bad, it's like bad. And it forces me to take a Valium, which I cannot stand. But the doc said, I think I do it's either my 5th or my 6th treatment this week. And then we'll do scans. And then if the scans are good, he said he'll probably take me off of this drug. Just go on to the other 2. So crossing my fingers that I can just be off this drug and won't have this problem anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah, was a lot of talk there was a lot of like horny talk in the podcast chat also.
Yes. People are missing my horny voice, and I'm like, it's not the podcast for that. I'm not going to do that. I want to say,
don't miss it.
I want to say, like, I don't want to do that to Mary. And then I realized, like, oh, she's listened to Monster of the Week. I've already done that to her.
You've already done that to me. It's okay. I just remember listening. I was in my car, and I was listening, and I was just kind of like staring at the timestamp, wondering how long this was going to last.
Should I just go ahead and skip now, or... Sometimes it's really obvious when Chris is uncomfortable, so I just really press those nerves and just get in.
Oh, Chris.
Yes, absolutely. You can tell when it's happening, too. And he's just like, let's talk about the show.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's talk about the X-Files.
No. I will not do that.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, okay.
All right, where am I? Those are the notes. Okay.
We just talked. Like, this is like 2 days later from the last time that we talked, which is funny to me.
I know.
So,
I'm sorry. I'm so greedy.
You don't have to be sorry at all. I think this is great. The next episode's going to be really good, too. And then the episode after that introduces some of my favorite Hannibal universe characters. So,
oh, that's exciting.
I think. Let me double check that. Let's see. So we are on this one. So next episode... it's definitely... Oh, no, next episode introduces some of my favorite characters. Never mind.
Oh, so it's characters.
Yeah, we're going to meet... Oh, it's a slow build, so we're only going to meet one of them, I think, looking at the IMDb stats. We're only going to meet one of them.
Well, I mean, Hannibal has eaten so many of our favorite characters so far that, I mean, it's time, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that Chris Diamantopoulos dude is in the next episode. That dude's been in everything.
Who?
I just picked him up because he's in that show. I told you about the syrup stealing show, the sticky.
Yes.
He's in that. So I'm like, and I was like, this dude looks familiar. And then if you look him up, he's been in literally every single show that's ever existed, and like he's like a 1 or 2 episode run on everything. So like I could say like, oh, he's been in this or that, and it's I mean it's just who knows what you have seen him in, but you've definitely seen him in something. I promise.
Okay.
I scrolled down to Supernatural. He was not in Supernatural. So that's usually my go-to. Is like, was he in Supernatural? Yeah.
Was he in X-Files or in Grey's Anatomy or Criminal Minds? Probably all 3, actually.
None of those. None of those. But like Nip Tuck, Charmed, The Sopranos, CSI. Like he's been in 24, like all kinds of shit.
You're naming all kinds of stuff that I haven't seen. Yeah. So.
The Office, Arrested Development.
Oh, I've seen The Office. Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So The Office.
Who is he in The Office?
He was the guy. Do you remember the last season where they like start introducing the camera crew, and like one of them gets kind of obsessed with Pam?
Yes.
He's that guy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So we got there.
Okay.
He also does a lot of voice acting. So like, I don't know how many episodes of Voltron Legendary Defender you've seen, but
I'm gonna say not many.
Not many. Very
not
few.
Not that many.
Very few Voltron Legendary Defender.
Oh my god. I have an answer to a question that we have not really been asking, but kind of has lingered in our minds.
Okay, hit me.
So. You know how we're getting some comments on Spotify right now that are like, oh, you guys are doing so well at podcasting, or like giving us some information about like tropes and whatnot. And we're like, why are people doing this? Like, this is kind of weird. Well, it's because in the latest episode that came out, we asked them to do
Did we do that? Okay. So you
yes,
did.
We did.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right?
So people
Right,
have been,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
The lag on these episodes are so hilarious because, like, I mean, we probably recorded that like how many weeks ago at this point, and now
Before Halloween, actually, is when we
God.
recorded it.
and it came out.
Because I listened to the episode yesterday because I was going on a run and I needed something that would last me the whole run. And I listened to it and I was like, oh my God.
This is why we're getting so many Spotify comments. This
Exactly.
Is why.
There you go. So
That's
thank
hilarious.
you, folks,
Thank
who
you
have sent
for
us
answering.
some grades in podcasting because we
Yes.
did ask
Yes, yes.
for you to do that. We
I was
appreciate it. We love it.
like I saw the trend and I was like, what did we do? But I mean, like, if you've never podcasted before, you don't really understand. Like, you literally go into kind of a fugue for however long the podcast lasts, and then you come out of it like not understanding anything to what you just said. Like, you just go into a fugue and you come out and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, hopefully that was funny and good. And then you put it out there in the world, and people like 2 years later are like, God, I loved it when you said X, and you're like, me too. I did.
Yes,
I did as
exactly.
well.
I'm so glad you liked it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for listening. It's my go-to for everything. Thank you so much for listening. It's such a privilege.
But it's true also. Like, I mean, it's awesome to know that whenever we made that joke that people are still responding to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
People, like, it's nice. I like it.
The one that I can't believe lasted as long as it has is the Meat Man joke for Monster of the Week. Because
Meat Man.
I promised verbally that I would retweet anybody that added us with Meat Man. And it bled over to Blue Sky, if you can believe that. Someone went to Blue Sky and found us on Blue Sky and was like, Meat Man. And I'm like, oh, okay, I made the promise. Like, we're here. I'm not going to do it on Twitter anymore, that's for sure. But yeah,
No.
This is good. So yeah, podcast audiences are fun. It's nice to have listeners who do
yeah.
stuff.
And it's cool to see, like, no matter when people get into it, like, they still get the same experience, whether they're following week to week or they're just binging it. Like, they still respond to the same things that other people respond to, which is kind of crazy to me, but it's really cool.
Yeah, it's very fun, I think. I love it when people binge podcasts and they're just constantly adding you about stuff that you said. It's a lot of fun. And that probably sounds sarcastic, but it absolutely is not. Like, give me more reactions. I want more and more reactions. I want all of the reactions that I can get. So, I hear Autumn said she was going to the gym and she was going to put Penny in here, but I hear Penny barking. So, oh no, oh wait, here is. Say hi, Autumn.
Hey, how's it going?
I
know.
heard her in the background,
Yeah.
like very far away.
She was just at the door. Hey, Pen, you gonna be a podcast dog? Oh, she's even got a chew too, so she's gonna be chill the fuck out.
Oh yeah, Penny girl.
So I've been doing some office remodeling.
Yes. Oh yeah, you've moved to the office now.
I'm trying to.
Yes.
I've realized that we have. So in 2 weeks, I have another chemo treatment, and Autumn's going to be out of town, so my sister's coming down. So I realized, like, oh, I've been looking at the office, but now I've got to look at the guest bedroom. I've got 2 weeks. I got to get this 65-inch TV off the bed. It's just been sitting here for 2 weeks.
Yes.
But part of the office cleanup has been, like, you know, kind of straightening my desk a little bit and like organizing. And part of that was like, as I was cleaning stuff off, I forgot that Autumn had given me one of those like digital picture frames, and it's been plugged in this entire time. It's just been behind a stack of stuff, so I've not seen any of these pictures. And it's one of those picture frames that, like, you can give somebody an email address and they can email you pictures. So they can put, yeah. So I'll put this on Twitter. This was probably like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. And it is just absolutely full of supernatural memes, like just series of Sam and Dean images that are just going through, and dogs and cats and my friend Patrick's my friend Pat's at the time his baby daughter. She's a little more grown up now, but yeah. So I'm just sitting here looking at Dean Winchester smiling at me right now, and then it's going to switch to like Dean and Sam with googly eyes at some point. And so.
That's really funny. Oh my God.
And then part of the stack of stuff that has been sitting there, I don't know if you do this, but like you get a stack of stuff and you're like, okay, I'm going to go through this, and like 90% of it's garbage and 10% of it is like, I'm going to deal with this later. Somebody sent us magazines, like the entertainment magazine, like specials for Supernatural. Have you seen these? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So somebody sent us those, and when people send me stuff, I feel real bad about just throwing it away. But also now I have 2 issues of the Ultimate Guide to Supernatural sitting on my desk. All 12 seasons. Mary, it covers all 12 seasons to give you an idea.
All 12 seasons? What?
The second one actually has Misha on the front. It says all 15 episodes.
Okay.
But I have two of these, and I don't know what to do with this. Like, I don't. It's a thing that I will probably never ever read, but I don't know. I wish I knew, and I guess I probably do know a Supernatural fan who would want to collect these. I should probably just put the call out and like send it to somebody who would appreciate it. But I don't know. It says collector's edition.
Why don't you do like a raffle with Monster of the Week?
I don't even know that people would. Do you think like it seems like such a weak prize? Like, here's a magazine. I don't know.
Or just like this post or follow us wherever, or follow, like, just have them do something, and then like just whatever. Yeah. People will be happy to do that.
Donate to charity.
Something that doesn't cost anything,
The ultimate guide to Supernatural. All 15 seasons.
Yes, all 15 seasons. I don't know that I would want that necessarily, because that feels like something that I would feel obliged to keep.
Exactly, and this is my problem, right? Like, because it's gonna like what's gonna happen is it was in a stack of stuff. It's gonna go to a different stack of stuff, which is probably gonna be in a bookshelf. Well, here's a hand-drawn version of like God touching man, like with the finger and everything, except it's Chuck and Lucifer from the show.
Oh, of course, yes.
Which is horrible. I don't like that. Oh, there's Paris Hilton.
But this is also why I do. Oh my God, this is really funny. You should do that again. Like send people the email address. Or actually, maybe that's what you do. You ask people to send you funny pictures, and then you pick a winner and you send them whatever.
There's like 4 pages of baby in here.
That's a lot of baby.
That's a lot of baby. I do not like calling a vehicle by name. That's not a thing that I do. You have a car. Does your car have a name?
My car does not have a name. Does your car have a name?
Absolutely not. No, never.
Okay.
In a million years. Yeah. No, it's a Toyota Camry. Like it's got a first and last name, I guess. I don't have a nickname.
It's a Toyota Camry.
Yeah. The car's name is Toyota. My name's Camry. Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
No, I've never been a fan of naming vehicles. I always thought that was anthropomorphizing vehicles. I don't know why I'm so angry today. Like I'm on one about vegans.
Yeah.
I'm on one about cars. I don't know what's going on. I haven't finished my coffee yet, so maybe once I get caffeinated, I'll be nicer.
You're going on about stuff also. That's a thing that's bothering you.
Yeah, I'm literally just rambling at you. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I love it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I have this thing, and it's going to be that time of year too, actually, where I go through all of my stuff and just like get rid of as much of it as possible, because first of all, I have a small space. Like I have a 2-bedroom apartment, and like I don't have extra storage space, right? So like everything that I own has to fit in this space, and that's it. And I also hate when things feel too crowded, because it feels very overwhelming with my numerous mental illnesses.
I feel you. Absolutely feel you on this.
And so, like, I always go through all of my stuff and just, like, get rid of it. And when there's something that I have trouble getting rid of, you might hate this because it is anthropomorphizing whatever things, but, like, I'd like to thank it. To be like, you know what? Thank you for doing what you did for me at the time. I don't need you anymore. And just, like, moving on.
Set it free.
And it's silly, but yes, exactly. And set yourself free.
I don't think that's silly at all. I think anything that gets you to a point where you don't have as much stuff is probably a good thing. Because I'm very much the same way nowadays. Like I stopped collecting like any sort of physical media whatsoever. Like video games used to come with all of this like tchotchke bullshit. Like I've skipped all that. I just download video games now. Don't do any of that stuff. About the only thing, I don't even buy books anymore, which is wild to me. Like I just buy like digital copies of books because it's so much easier. And like the day that Autumn and I met, like one of the reasons we bonded is because she walked into my room and I had all these bookshelves, and she was like, "Oh, I've read all of these books. Like let's bond over these books," and we did. Like so, you would think that both of us would be like into like collecting physical books, but neither one of us do anymore. So
I got rid of most of my books actually when I did one of those. Yes, when I did one of those things, because I was like, why why am I keeping those? And it turns out that it was more about like, and it's fine, like, right? Like if people keep books just for the looks or for whatever, like whatever the reason why you keep books, it's fine. I'm not, but for me, it was more about clinging on to something from my past than actually like enjoying the presence of these books. Mm-hmm. And so I got rid of most of them. I still have like a small collection of the ones that I really, really like. Like I still have my Lord of the Rings. I still have my Anne of Green Gables, like all of the ones that I really, really love and that still feel part of my present, but like a lot of the rest I gave away. Yeah.
We did the same thing and still somehow ended up with like a bookshelf and a half worth of books that we kept. So we're probably due for another purge, but we got it out of the living room. That was the big thing, is that we had these two giant like looming bookshelves in the living room that we would just, I mean, like, you know, because we're not using it very actively, so it just like becomes a place to put more stuff onto. So
yes, that's the issue.
That is something that I have learned, is that the less places you have to put stuff onto, the less stuff that you will have put everywhere. So like we have this giant coffee table in our living room now, and we're looking to replace it. And it made sense to have a giant coffee table for a long time for us because we have like an L-shaped couch, but we're looking at it going like, what do we actually use? Like we use like 30% of this coffee table. And you can tell because we've had it so long, like part of it is worn down. So we're like, you can clearly see, like we are seeing fossil markings of exactly where we use this coffee table. So let's get a smaller one and just make the room bigger. And it's working. Like it's seems to be working. Although I do want to keep it. Like I have a weird attachment to the big talk coffee table now. So.
What are you going to do? Where are you going to put it?
Autumn has been talking about, so she started this fish thing, which you have been kept very well appraised of throughout its life.
Yes.
Her original idea was like, let's do a koi pond outside. So we don't really have like, we have a ton of space in our backyard, but we don't really have like a ton of seating space. Like we don't have like a nice little comfortable like area. Right. So, we originally started with like, she's like, I want a koi pond. And I was like, oh, I bet it'd be cool to build a deck and a koi pond. Like, so you could hang out on the deck and like the koi could swim through, or maybe they're on the side and you could see them swimming on the side while you're sitting down or whatever. This was like earlier this year, right? Like this was this was probably around like April or May when we started talking about this. And we like hired a guy to come out and do a 3D model. I can send you that, by the way. He put it on YouTube. Like I can send you like what he designed. And it was like 87,000 feet of concrete. I'm like, dude, this is not, I don't know why you think we need this much concrete.
That's going to make your backyard so hot, by the way.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. And like, we just don't need it. Like, I mean, we just need a path to the place. But anyway,
he just wanted to sell concrete.
Apparently so. Concrete's apparently very profitable. But so she decided to do the koi thing inside. So she bought an aquarium. She started getting these fish that she liked called loches, or we call them loches, but I think it's loches. Loche sounds much fancier. They're weird little flesh tubes, as you've seen. They've got a weird personality. They're not like any fish I've ever seen before. They're kind of gross in a very charming way. I love them.
I think this is probably the most accurate way you can describe these fish. Just saying.
They are kind of gross in a charming way. It's very strange.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the biggest one will just literally, like, if you think about it like a long flesh tube, like the longest middle finger you've ever seen. And she'll I don't know how she does it, but she like balances herself upside down in like a little C shape and then just floats across with the current. And then like gets to the other side and like will do it again. Like it's so fucking weird.
It's so unnerving because like usually when fish are belly up, like that's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, but she'll like there's a filter in the corner, and she'll like wedge herself underneath the filter and like put her belly to the air. And you can like go over there and like touch her belly and she doesn't freak out. Like it's fucking weird. Aww. It's very strange. But so what has happened now is that the aquarium that she set up is directly next to her spot, like on the couch where she sits. And she is just locked into these fish like 90% of the time.
Oh.
So now she's like, well, I've got everything I want to here. Why do I need a koi pond outside? I don't know why we started talking about this. I don't know why I'm talking about this at all. I'm just rambling to you this morning. I'm sorry. I'm yapping. I'm worse than Chris Mosier today.
Chris Mosier, get out of this mind.
Chris, we're not even recording today, I don't think. We didn't talk about it.
Oh, Chris. Chris's ears must be burning right now.
Probably
Poor
so.
Chris.
Probably so. He was sending me pictures. He was walking around in the woods that looked like it was all foggy and creepy, and I'm like, you're about to get murdered. He's like, my phone stopped. I don't get service out here, and I'm like, you're about to get seriously murdered.
Oh, was it foggy where he is too? Because it was so foggy for me yesterday.
Yeah.
Like I went on a run at 10, 11 a.m. and I had to wear my visibility vest because it was so foggy.
Yeah, it was extremely foggy in the trees that he sent me. It looked like he was in a bad video game, like he was about to get murdered by the monster. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's what it felt like during most of my run, to be honest. I was like, oh no.
About to get got by this video game.
Yes.
That's funny.
Oh my god.
I guess we can talk about Hannibal. Is that something that you're prepared to do?
I would love to talk about Hannibal.
Okay. But
I'm just scared.
it's going to be great.
Now.
Everybody comes out fine at the end of season 2. Don't worry about it.
Jeremy, you said that about season 1.
Everybody's fine. Look, Will's out of jail.
Fine.
Hannibal's doing great things. He's got his not karma. He's got his creativity going. Alana's getting laid, having dogs. I mean, everybody's great. Miriam gets rescued. I told you everything's fine.
Chilton's fine, right?
Chilton's having a bad day, okay? But I mean, for the most part, everybody is fine.
I'll give you that.
Chilton is having a particularly bad day. There was an artist that, or a podcaster that would go to comic book conventions, and they would meet their favorite artists and ask them to draw just a quick sketch of Cyclops having a bad day. And they just kept a journal of Cyclops having a bad day. And I just think that's one of the best art prompts ever. If I'm never going to do this for Supernatural, but if I was a convention goer, I'd be like, please show me Dean Winchester having a bad day. Just a quick sketch. So.
But I feel like that's most of season of all 15 seasons.
It's true.
Jeremy.
It's very true. Yeah. There's not a lot of good days in there.
I know.
What is the happiest that we ever saw Dean Winchester? I know this is not the podcast.
Probably when he was a dog.
You're right. You're probably right.
I hate it as much as you do, trust me, but probably when he was a dog and hanging out with his head outside the window.
You're not wrong. Taking everything away from him, taking thumbs away from Dean Winchester is probably the happiest he's ever been. You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Hannibal and not Dean Winchester.
Okay, let's talk about Hannibal. Okay, you might want to hit record on Zencaster. Just saying.
Oh, thank you. Whoops.
I've been recording on my end, so it's okay.
I always do it on my other app. I forget to do it here. I did this with Chris the other day too. So
it's just that I can't do it. I don't have the I don't have the power.
Can I just promote you somehow? I don't know. I can kick you out.
It's something you have to do every time. You can kick me out.
I can mute you. But I don't know. There's no I can't transfer power to you. So
it's fine. I don't mind.
It's okay.
I'll just remind you to hit record every once in a while. Oh, okay. I was so right to be worried. Is what I'm saying. Okay.
Autumn just headed back and said the gym is full of New Year's resolutioners.
Yes. Oh, she came back. She just didn't
she was just like, I'm not bothering with this. All of the machines are taken.
That's honestly what I'm afraid of. That it's going to be such hell. This coming the next 2-3 weeks, and I'm just like, no, please. Anyway, it's a 24-hour gym, so I'll just try to go super early. So it's
Autumn has tried that. She was going at 3 a.m. at one point, setting her alarm to go at 3 a.m. and then it was just sketchy enough. She was like,
yes.
There's a guy pushing a buggy, and I'm sure he's totally fine, but also assuming people are totally fine is how you get murdered. And I'm like, I understand. Yes. I completely get it. You want to think the best, but also it's weird that dude's out at 3 a.m. pushing a buggy. What's he doing at that buggy? So
yeah. I feel that. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Do it.
And the conclusion that I've drawn is that you are